Yeah, we're not doing this. This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever done, and I'm not doing it. Just gonna just toss it aside. Just cover myself in shit wipers for a gag, and I'm gagging at it. Anyways, hey everybody. If you can tell, I was pretending to be a mummy. Ooh. And today I'm going to be talking about mummies, specifically Goosebumps mummies, and specifically ranking them. So today we're going to be ranking all 9 mummy stories in Goosebumps. Now, what do I count as a mummy story? So there's a lot of mummies in UIG books, but there's only one I truly count, and it's Diary of a Mad Mummy, because it's genuinely a mummy book. So we're including Diary of a Mad Mummy, the 3 modern mummy stories, the 2 short stories, one from Triple Header Book 2 and one from Tales Book 3. And the original 2 mummy books, as well as the Mummy Walks. So, yeah, basically every mummy story that's specifically called a mummy story, or very much implied to be one, that obviously includes mummies, or is supposed to be interpreted as a mummy story. But either way, the 9 mummy stories of Goosebumps. Almost 10. And we might get there someday, for all we know. But as of now, we only have 9. And yeah, we're going to be ranking them from worst to best, so let's just dive in. I know I said I wouldn't talk about Triple Header for a while, and I was right. It's actually March. Last time I talked about it was August, so it's been a hot minute. But here we are, number 9, The Mummy with My Face. I'm sorry, Triple Header, but you're getting out of the way immediately. At the bottom, too. Now, this isn't a bad story by any means. I don't want to, say it is, because it really isn't. It's just fun. I'm not a big fan of the twists, since they're really weird for Goosebumps, and the story isn't too crazy. And out of all these, I think it's just the most fine one. I really have no thoughts on this one, at all. Just go read it. It's basically a Scooby-Doo story, as that's what people really say about it anymore. Yeah, Mummy with My Face, sadly at the bottom. Now moving on to number 8, we have, one of them said is at number 8, Diary of a Mad Mummy. This book is actually not a favorite, but it's definitely liked by one of my friends, Completionist. And I like the aspects that they like. There's some possession involved in this book. But it just wasn't my favorite UIG, nor even scratching probably my top 20. But I still think it was, okay. I think it was an okay UIG. And worth checking out if you're curious. But there are great things in this book, alright? Go check out my soon-to-be review, because, yeah, I'm reviewing this one very soon. So, stay tuned. Check out that when it drops. I'll be more in-depth, because I get vague, because I haven't reviewed it. But it's good. But not, very good. I think it's a little below average. Next up, we have an absolutely average story, and that is Don't Wake Mummy. Now, this short story is way different from the episode, so I'm assuming not a lot of you have read it. I'm going to try and be spoiler-free, but I will be talking about this one. The ending is wildly different. There's a whole, scene involved in this book that is nowhere to be seen in the episode, and that is involving a shop, so we'll just say that much. But yeah, Don't Wake Mummy in the actual short story version. Do I prefer it? Hell no. But I actually think it's just okay. It's definitely not the worst mummy story, but of the 2 short stories, it's definitely the better of the 2. But yeah, I really like some things about it, but, not huge on it or anything. Return of the Mummy. I actually don't like it over the original Mummy's Tomb book. As you can tell, it hasn't showed up yet. And we're actually about to get into our top 5. So I'll be a little more in-depth on those. But, Return of the Mummy. I kind of view this one as, one of the most average Goosebumps books ever. When I read it, that was basically my first thought. This is very average. If you haven't checked out my review, it was years ago. Well, not years, but it was a year ago, last March. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, at least I believe I did. That's how it is currently. And yeah, that's really just the most average, rounded potential score I can give a book. It is so average. So average. It was low 7.5 out of 10. It's frickin' average as hell. There's nothing really to be said about it. Besides the fact that it is Prince Caru's book. And I think his appearance is rather weak. But there's other great things. I like the twist villain. I like the, semi-dark ending. Actually, very dark. You never know, but I'm sure they probably got out of that scenario. In contrast to the very lighthearted ending of the first book, minor spoiler. And I like the story itself, the whole setting of Egypt and a lot of what's going on. It's really nice. But nothing special. It's really, really average. Unlike this next one, now entering top 5, we have a slightly above average story. Who's Your Mummy? I get this title confused with Don't Wake Mummy a lot, so I almost thought I got it wrong there, but Who's Your Mummy? Infamous cover with a mummy Ding Dong Diction, which is like, what the fuck? This book is quite good. We're not going to be talking about the Horrorland segment really here, but I'll talk about the main story. We're talking about overall. I do include the Horrorland segments in these reviews, so this is including the Horrorland segment in the story. But either way, I think it's a very good story. Not anything to behold, but it's definitely quite good and mildly above average and definitely worth checking out. There's some very, decently scary bits. There's a villain which is mildly disturbing because of their weird mechanics involving hair. There's some great moments and scenes that play out, and it's a very interesting story with a very vivid setting of a very weirdly themed house around ancient Egypt. Yeah, it's a house that looks like a pyramid, which is just super cool, honestly. But yeah, I really like that one. Not a whole lot, but I really like it at the end of the day. Now, getting to a classic mummy story in Goosebumps, one that a lot of people cherish, and a lot of people sometimes dunk on, Cursed Mummies 2. Now, I'm one of those people who don't mind the first half too much, because it's infamous for the constant back and forth between Sorry and Gabe. It's not that bad. I like them exploring the pyramid in the first half, kind of introducing everybody. I like the whole first half in general, to some extent, minus the bickering, of course. I can manage it. And the second half is obviously the superior half, transitioning to an interesting scene that might be a reference to kidnapping, as well as a great climax with a shocking reveal involving the summoner. We all know what happens, but mummies! Oh, great reveal. And also great villain. Is it dark? Yes, but it's not too explicit, and I think that's great. But yeah, really good story, but nothing amazing once again. Until now, the top 3 mummy stories. 2 moderns, and the Series 2001 Mummy Walks. Which one's going to show up next? This story is a very interesting one, because it involves Slappy the Dummy. Yeah, we're having a Slappy story in this ranking. Stop breaking into videos you don't belong in, Slappy. But he does. This is a mummy story, and I actually like the mummy in this book more than Slappy. This is a very decent Slappy appearance. Do I even need to explain why this book's so good? A lot of people have read it by now. I think it's pretty obvious. The fight, it's great. There's some great moments in the fight, as well as the entire build-up. The vivid museum setting, there's some nice dialogue, and there's a nice little fake story told around the midway portion of the book. And there's just great bits involving each villain. Arrow Goddess, yeets a man across the room, and it's pretty tense. As well as Slappy being Slappy, but more of a prime way, not a bad way. So yeah, really good stuff here. Very above average story. But not quite as shocking as number 2, The Mummy Walks. Now, The Mummy Walks is a very strange story. Well, it takes place entirely in Egypt, like you might expect. It doesn't show a lot of mummies, so it's kind of like cheating its way here. But it's still a mummy story at today. It's talking about mummies. A mummy does walk, but we never see it. But yeah, a mummy walks indeed. It's a good story. A very, very good story. Not without its flaws, but it has great moments, great tense bits, as well as just a very engaging tale. It's really good. What can I say? It's been a hot minute since I reviewed it. But yeah, really good story there. And one that I feel is slept on for Series 2000. Maybe because it's a mummy story and not exactly an appetizing cover unless you have a feet vet. Here we go. Number 1. What will be my number 1? I think y'all know. Yeah, Night of the Living Mummy. Probably the worst title out of all of these 2. I hate the title, man. It's horrible. Night of the Living Mummy. It's lying bad on its own. It's just it's clearly trying to, rip off Night Living Dummy, and it's just fucking stupid. But either way, fantastic book. It's not a 10 out of 10, so none of the mummy books have literally been perfect to me. But this has been damn close, I feel. It's one of the best Goosebumps stories, at least in the modern era. And one of the, better of the entire series, clearly. Night of the Living Mummy exceeds a lot of expectations, if it might be said. It's like a mix of Diary of a Mad Mummy and Return of the Mummy, which is very good, because I like those two stories, and it obviously did it better, since it made it number 1. Yeah, I really like the story. You have to really go read it to find out exactly why, but there's a lot of stuff going down here, and I feel like it's one of the most complete books in the Goosebumps series. Like a genuine book, it feels. There's a whole arc between the two characters, Ahmed and our main character. I can't remember his name. I think it's Happy Silverman. Yes, I'm not stupid. I didn't check the back till just now. Yeah, there's a nice arc between them. There's also this interesting villain who does something very stupid, but nonetheless, he's a decent character. There's a very good climax, and a lot of great things to behold from this book, and I feel like it's definitely worth checking out, especially for a mummy story, which obviously aren't amazing. Very good, and great story. I highly recommend if I could put on my show. And yeah, that's going to do it for this ranking video. I know it's strange because I don't really rank monster stories in Goosebumps, specifically about monsters, so maybe I'll do a ghost ranking, maybe I'll do a living dummy story ranking, or something like that in the future, but I'm planning to do these, sometime, so I thought I'd throw one out here this month. You're probably going to expect to see werewolves someday, probably later this year. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.